Discover the amazing tale of a 21-year-old who fell for her best friend's father, a mafia boss. Emma stood among the swirling leaves of golden hues, her heart racing as she scanned the gallery filled with familiar faces in Maplewood. This annual fall art showcase represented everything she longed for, a chance to be seen. Her vibrant paintings hung on the walls, each brushstroke a piece of her soul. But a gnawing unease lurked beneath the surface. As much as she craved the recognition, her mind spiraled into a darkness she couldn't expose, the chaotic emotions surrounding Tony, Mia's father, the man who had somehow woven himself into the fabric of her heart. The moment she saw him step into the gallery, her stomach twisted into knots. Tony possessed an alluring charm, the kind that drew people in yet held them at arm's length. He was a notorious figure, seen as someone from whom the town whispered in corners. Yet here he stood, smiling genuinely at her artwork, offering her compliments that ignited an absurd mix of joy and panic. Did he really admire her? Or was it the reckless nature of their connection that made her blood race? Emma's thoughts tangled as she balanced her feelings for Tony with the looming shadows of morality and loyalty swirling around her. Mia, her best friend, had no idea of the feelings that mounted within Emma, a feeling that danced upon the knife's edge of taboo. What was she doing? How could she harbor feelings for someone who haunted her friend's family? It wasn't just a crush, it felt like a dangerous addiction. In the quaint diner, whispers often found their way to her ears, those hollow assessments of judgment from patrons who dished out coffee like they spilled secrets. They wouldn't understand even if she tried to explain. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Each fleeting moment spent with Tony felt like dancing on a cliff's edge, exhilarating yet terrifying. The guilt clawed at her as she stole glances their way, imagining the potential devastation of worst-case scenarios, Mia discovering the truth, perhaps confronting her. The thought alone punctured her heart with a brutal ache, forcing tears into her eyes. Doubt gnawed at her resolve. Could she really let a careless fling put her relationship with Mia in jeopardy? The tightrope she walked only became more perilous when Mia accidentally walked in on her and Tony sharing a secret moment. The betrayal and hurt reflected in Mia's eyes shattered Emma. The closest person in her life stood before her like a mirror, highlighting both her precarious love and the tower of lies it rested upon. As her best friend stepped back, a chasm widened between them, each heartbeat a reminder of the labyrinth she had willingly entered. Conflicted and fraught with emotion, Emma's love for Tony battled fiercely against her loyalty to Mia, an internal war waging in silence. Just when she thought chaos couldn't weave any deeper, the revelation about Tony's estranged brother, wrongfully imprisoned, loomed heavy. His suffering weighed on both their hearts, kindling desperation in Emma. This wasn't just about her anymore, it was about justice, or was it merely an excuse to deflect the pain from her own tangled heart? As Emma stood frozen, paintbrush in hand, preparing to launch her new collection highlighting injustices, she caught sight of a cryptic message on her phone. It was a warning about Tony's hidden dangers, both personal and professional, threatening to pull her down into darkness. She felt trapped between fighting for love or seeking truth, a choice that could shatter her world. Would she stand strong against the whirlwind of emotions, or would she succumb to the seductive call of the chaos? The dawn of clarity slipped into Emma's mind as she stared at the half-finished canvas sprawled out in front of her, colors swirling but emotions reigning concrete. Guilt and passion fought for dominance. Her brush hovered reflectively, poised to express yet another tumultuous chapter of her life. In that moment, the urgency to delve deeper into her own psyche began to outweigh the comforting but tumultuous allure of Tony. Each painting had become an archive of her heartache, questions spilling over the canvas like spilled paint. With her friendship fractured and her artistic integrity on the line, Emma realized that she had to make an active choice. Was she merely a shadow in the periphery of Tony's chaotic world, or could she carve out her own destiny amidst the implications of his criminal ties? As she packed supplies for her studio, her hands trembled. A plan began to take shape in the back of her mind, a means of gaining control in a world enveloped by the shadows of men like Tony. She could no longer let his existence dictate her emotional state. It was time to expose her vulnerabilities and transform them into a narrative that resonated with truth rather than turbulence. With each stroke, Emma compelled herself to embody the discomfort, the thrill, and the ferocity of her emotions. Through her art, she saw an opportunity to both reflect and confront. As she painted images of a city under the spell of darkness, she pondered the ethical implications of loyalty. Could she champion justice for Tony's brother while disentangling herself from the web of danger surrounding Tony? The thought alone sent shivers down her spine. Meanwhile, behind this spiraling creativity lay the relentless pulse of her feelings for Tony. Every passing encounter prompted inner dialogues. Did she idolize him? Or was their connection merely a byproduct of her surroundings, the glittering facade of attraction masking deeper insecurities? Perhaps the charms of a mafia boss captivated her, but reality loomed. The choices she faced weren't just about matters of the heart, they enveloped her very identity. As her series began to take form, Emma created a piece that symbolized Tony's world: dark, chaotic, yet alluring. Each stroke represented a whisper of truth and a shout of rebellion. Would he see himself within the lines? Or would he continue to hide behind the secrets and shadows marketable to the masses? This work became her liberation, her unanswered question turned into visual therapy. She had to execute this vision precisely, with the weight of its implications looming large. Just as she meshed the final colors of her metaphorical cry for help, her phone chimed again, vibrating with urgency. It was a message from Mia. Emma's heart sank. It was a note filled with confusion and an unspoken plea for answers. The delicate thread of their friendship had been pulled taut, ready to snap entirely. Both pain and hope coiled through her as she contemplated the implications of her next move. Standing on the precipice of confrontation with Mia and an unyielding attraction to Tony, Emma found herself trembling on the edge of monumental decisions. The chaos wasn't just external, it churned within her own heart. Would she turn away from love to salvage her strained bond with her best friend, or would she dive headfirst into the tumultuous waters of passion, risking everything? The moment of decision approached, and the weight of impending confrontation felt palpable. Emma understood her journey was not merely about love, betrayal, or artistry, it was about self-discovery, about unearthing the truth buried beneath layers of conflict. And as the echoes of unresolved tension filled the air, she steeled herself. Whatever her choice may lead to, she would paint the canvas of her life, boldly. What would she reveal to Mia? And amidst the natural fallout of revelations, would she emerge reborn or irreparably shattered? Emma's breath hitched as she stared at her phone, unable to turn away from Mia's words. The text screamed out for clarity, a plea for trust shattered by the weight of unspoken truths. She could feel her heart thumping in her chest, each beat a reminder that her decisions had the power to fracture her remaining ties with Mia or entangle her deeper into Tony's world. There was an urgency to respond, yet the uncertainties clawed at her mind. What could she reveal without inviting outright betrayal? Mia's emotional state was fragile. After all, Emma had stood beside her in the past, unwavering. But now, as bitter doubts collided within, the lines between loyalty and selfhood twisted like a brush on a rogue canvas. The tension within her spiraled as she set her phone down, returning to the canvas. It had become a map of her psyche, mirroring her emotional unrest. She saw Tony complex, magnetic, yet dangerous, reflected in an abstract maze. While paint dripped from the brush, Emma realized that every encounter with him had transformed her. She was no longer just an artist, she was a woman caught in a web of conflict and consequence. Paint splattered as she slapped color onto the canvas in a frenzy, each stroke mirroring the clash in her heart. The night spent under the weight of his gaze, justifying a relationship that questioned her values, reignited the internal conflict. Was she brave for loving him, or foolish for letting her heart lead her astray? She had to confront this unraveling tapestry of emotions and desires, not just for her sanity but to reclaim her self-worth. Faced with this reality, Emma resolved to delve deeper, laying bare the complexities of her relationship with Tony and the reality of her fraying bond with Mia. The canvas became her confessional, each hue imbued with her contradictions. As the vivid colors mixed, chaos transformed into clarity. Through the unrelenting pressure of artistic expression, she uncovered the strength that lay dormant within an unexpected resilience that she never knew she possessed. As she painted, she felt the urge to channel her fury into her work, to create a series that would encapsulate her own battle against emotional encroachment. Emma's ambition began to chip away at her fears. She envisioned displaying a portion of her series at a local gallery. It could serve as a liberation from the shackles of her emotional turmoil, a testament to her identity that stood separate from both Mia and Tony. But visions of independence were quickly dimmed by the thought of their confrontation. If Mia knew the truth about Tony, what would that mean for their friendship? The risk sent Emma back to her brush. Perhaps this plunge into artistry was not just an escape but also a means of rediscovery. Yet simultaneously, she questioned whether her ambition was a mask for her uncertainties. Two paths diverged before her, illuminated by the revelation that had begun unraveling within her. She could press onwards to face Mia with honesty, reclaim her space while risking the rupturing of their friendship. Or she could cling to the illusion of familiarity, retreating to the safety of silence and complicity, prolonging the inevitable collision of truths. In that moment, something profound settled within Emma, a call to action. She would confront Mia in their meeting, not as two friends entangled in a web of deceit but as individuals forced to reconcile their desires with their values. The hour for vulnerability approached. Emma stood poised, brush in hand and heart racing. Each decision awaited her like an unpainted portion of the canvas, reminding her that the climax of her turmoil was not merely an ending, it was an invitation for personal metamorphosis. As she put down her brush, fixed yet hesitant, she wondered how Mia would react, whether she would embrace the storm of revelations or succumb to the despair of betrayal. With her heart throbbing in anticipation, Emma felt an undeniable urge wash over her. No matter how rocky the path ahead, she would flatter the chaos rather than be flattened by it. Amid the push-pull of relations, the moment had come where courage and vulnerability united. It was her turning point. But would Tony remain a piece of her transformed identity, or would she find the strength to sever ties and paint a new future? Her phone chimed again, signaling a familiarity. The screen lit up, and Emma read the name with a shiver of adrenaline. Tony. Would he re-enter the fray at this critical juncture, and what secrets would he bring that might alter everything she had just resolved? Emma's fingers trembled as she glanced at the screen, the name Tony casting a shadow over her careful resolve. Each letter felt like a taunt, a reminder of the tangled web she'd begun to weave. Setting the phone down again, she took a deep breath, channeling the resolve she'd summoned while painting. The canvas demanded her attention, a burgeoning testament to her internal struggle. Sitting in quiet contemplation, she prepared for the confrontation ahead. This wasn't just a matter of spilling secrets and risking their friendship, it was about reclaiming her identity. Emma considered what she desired most: freedom, creativity, authenticity. She wanted to live truthfully, to shed the threads of deception that had bound her to both Mia and Tony. The facade felt heavy now, a cloak she yearned to cast off. As she returned to her easel, colors swirled before her, blending and clashing like her emotions. Would Mia accept her newfound understanding, or would this revelation forge an irreparable rift between them? Images of their shared laughter resurfaced, moments that felt distant but were still tender nuggets of their bond. Yet, she could no longer ignore the unpredictable storm brewing around her, festering because of unaddressed truths. The thought of sharing her struggle with Mia nested deeply within her, pushing against every instinct that urged silence. After all, Mia's perception of reality had never included the complexities of Tony's world. But for Emma, there was no retreat from the honesty that called to her. With each brush stroke, she practiced articulating her feelings, the life she wanted to live versus the one being dictated by fear. Days passed in a blur of frenetic creativity, culminating into an exhibition of her soul on canvas. She poured into each piece the turmoil, desire, and undeniable resilience that defined her journey. Yet, the excitement of her imminent showcase did little to quench her anxiety about the conversation with Mia. With the opening day quickly approaching, she felt the weight of dual pressures, to present her art and to prepare for honesty, to embrace her evolution. That evening, as she prepared for the opening, her phone buzzed again. Tony. Different from the earlier text, this one felt more urgent, more demanding. His words pointedly requested a meeting, the implications heavy with unspoken expectation. Emma's heart raced, not entirely with dread but with a mixture of curiosity and courage. This was a crossroads. Did she indulge this mercurial man or stick to the paths she began carving out for herself? As she put on her best dress, the fabric clung to her like a second skin, reminding her of her dual identities: a daughter, a friend, an artist, and a woman entangled in a paradox. The reflection staring back at her showed a tangled mix of resolve and conflict, mirroring the tempest she felt inside. She understood that she couldn't keep this charade alive without losing herself entirely. With one last glance at her artwork hanging beautifully in her studio, Emma felt the surge of determination swell within her. The allure of Tony's world was undeniable, yet it no longer overshadowed her life. Part of her had wanted to dive deeper, yet as she felt the fabric tighten around her, she recognized a swelling strength. She wanted to surface, not drown. In that moment, she made a decision. She would speak to Mia first today, before the exhibition. She needed to establish herself on solid ground, a personal foundation before she brushed against Tony again. This confrontation was vital, the first act in her journey towards authenticity. As she stepped into the fresh air, fear and excitement twined together in her chest, urging her on. She knew the time for truth was upon her. With the phone beating in her pocket, Emma visualized the unveiling of her newest creation, a conversation, an emergence from the cocoon of deceit. After that, she would confront Tony, but that would be another revelation altogether. With a determined breath, she headed toward Mia's place, pondering how her best friend would respond to the truth. The anticipation left a weight in the pit of her stomach. Would Mia understand? Would she fight for their bond or retreat into resentment? As Emma approached the door, she stopped short. Something in her felt raw and exposed, but she couldn't turn back. She was ready for the convergence of honesty and consequence. As the door opened slowly, a sense of being on the brink enveloped her. Every new step now guided her toward a pivotal awakening. What would it take to dismantle the carefully woven secrets? Would the reality of her revelation spark an irrevocable change or lead to further obstacles along her path of discovery? The air was thick with possibility as she stepped within, heart racing for what lay ahead. The moment the door swung open, Emma was greeted by a wave of familiarity mixed with uncertainty. Mia stood there, her expression a blend of surprise and a comforting warmth that soothed Emma's frayed nerves, albeit momentarily. The cluttered living room behind Mia was alive with the essence of their shared history, the walls decorated with co-created memories. "Emma, what are you doing here?" Mia exclaimed, stepping aside. Emma's heart quickened, but she forced a smile, stepping inside as she brushed her fingers against the framed photographs, a tangible history that grounded her in this moment. "I needed to talk," Emma replied, trying to control the quiver in her voice. The atmosphere thickened as they settled onto the worn couch, the cushion familiar but charged, like the hush before a storm. Emma felt the pull of her thoughts, an overpowering desire to spill everything, yet hesitated. How could she possibly articulate the chaos within her? "Mia, I've been thinking a lot lately," Emma started, the words feeling awkward and stilted. "About life, our friendship, and some things I haven't been completely honest about." Mia leaned in, her brow furrowed with concern. "What do you mean? You know you can tell me anything, right?" Emma let out a shaky breath. "I've held back, I've let so much silence build between us. It's not just about my art or the exhibition. It's about who I am, who I want to be. And it involves Tony." The name hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. Mia's composure faltered slightly at the mention of her father's name, the warmth in her eyes flickering. What about him? The tension draped over them like a fog, thickening with every moment. Emma felt a knot form in her stomach, a mix of adrenaline and fear, as she fought for poise. "I think I've developed feelings for him," her voice trailed off, the admission leaving a bitter taste. Mia recoiled slightly, her expression shifting from confusion to betrayal. "Emma, no. You can't be serious. He's my dad." Emma's heart pulsed furiously, reality crashing down. "You have to understand, it's complicated." I never intended for this to happen. And he's different with me. There's a connection. Different how? Mia's tone was sharp, protective. He sees me, Mia. The real me. He encourages my art, believes in my potential. Emma's desperation surged. She grabbed at the scattered pieces of her argument. You know how stagnant I felt before. He made me feel alive again. Mia dropped her gaze, momentarily lost in thought, as waves of betrayal mixed with the sting of competition washed over her. Emma's heart sank further, realizing the rift was growing, even as truth spilled out. What about everything we've done together? The moments we've cherished? Mia's voice trembled, hurt shining through her confusion. How can you take that away from us? It's not just about you or your dad, it's about me, too. Emma surged forward, challenging herself to dig deeper, to emerge stronger. I'm at a point where I have to make choices for myself, and I refuse to live a lie just to keep from hurting you. I care about you, but I can't deny who I've become. A charged silence enveloped them, each word hanging heavily between the two friends. Emma felt the full weight of the moment settle into her bones. This was the truth, stripped raw and unadorned. Mia's shoulders slumped slightly, a powerful blow. You're risking everything, Emma. Tony is a part of a world you don't fully understand. The words sliced deep, making Emma's heart race. The stakes were higher than she realized, but she was determined to confront the truth, for better or for worse. Maybe so, Emma said, vulnerability melting into strength. But it's time I start finding out what that world means for me, even if it's messy. As they stared at each other, Emma felt a shift between them, a tenuous tether either threatening to fray or solidify. She was prepared to face whatever might come next, even if it meant sacrificing her relationship with Mia. Will you support me, if I pursue this? Emma's voice remained resolute, uncertainty creeping in about how it would be received. Mia hesitated, her expression caught between acceptance and betrayal. I don't know, Emma. The tension thickened, each moment stretching painfully long, a labyrinth of emotions with no clear exit. What if Tony isn't who you think he is? Mia whispered, her voice breaking, the fear of losing so much reverberating in the space between them. Emma held her gaze steady. That's a risk I'm willing to take. As Emma prepared for the storm that lay ahead, the weight of her honesty reverberated through her skilled hands, the hands that had crafted beauty from pain. With fresh resolve, she ruminated on the contours of her desires against the realities that surrounded her. What awaited her in the world of Tony? Would she summon the courage to embrace not only her truth but the consequences that came with it? Time no longer felt a luxury, it was about to accelerate. Emma's heart raced as she stepped out of Mia's house, feeling the weight of their conversation settle deep within her. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows that mirrored the uncertainty clouding her mind. Each step away from her childhood friend seemed to echo with the unresolved tension that hung in the air, trailing behind her like a specter. Navigating the familiar streets of her neighborhood had never felt so alien. All the landmarks that once filled her with warmth now felt like reminders of the choices that lay ahead. As she walked, Emma grappled with conflicting emotions. Was she betraying Mia? Or was she finally asserting her identity, carving out a space where she could breathe and be herself? The thought invigorated yet terrified her, and she found herself questioning everything she thought she knew about love, loyalty, and the intricate dance of human relationships. Every twist and turn that led her back to her small apartment felt like a personal reckoning. Emma knew she had to navigate her feelings for Tony carefully. It wasn't merely an infatuation, it felt deeper, rooted in shared passions and understanding. Yet she couldn't ignore Mia's warning. What if Tony was not who he seemed? If she pursued this, what would it mean for her art? Her ambitions? Her future? That night, Emma sat at her small kitchen table, a place where countless designs had been birthed from dreams, now blanketed by the looming cloud of doubt. She picked up her paintbrush, staring at the untouched canvas before her. It became a battlefield of thoughts, each stroke begging for clarity. Raw emotions poured from her fingers, colors bleeding into one another, transforming inside out, a reflection of her tumultuous heart. With every application of paint, she discovered the duality of her feelings, love and fear coexisting, heartbreaking yet breathtaking. The brush glided with newfound purpose as she faced her tumultuous thoughts head-on. The canvas took on ferocity, the colors clashing, yet creating a harmony she had never known. It felt as though she was sketching the outline of her future. But no sooner had her focus begun to crystallize than a surge of doubt threatened to shatter her concentration. What should she really do about Tony? Emma paused, brushes resting in her hand, staring at the chaotic masterpiece before her. Suddenly, the weight of a decision pressed on her chest. It wasn't enough to merely contemplate her feelings, she needed definitive action, a plan. After brushing her hands against her jeans, Emma turned to her phone, scrolling through her contacts until she found Tony's number. Hesitation flooded her mind, knowing this wasn't just a call to rendezvous. It was a threshold she was about to cross. But clarity washed over her as she considered her next steps. Whatever this relationship could become, it had to be built on transparency, not only with Tony but with herself. Dialing the number, she tipped her head back and closed her eyes, murmurings of self-doubt dissipating, replaced by fierce resolve. As the dial tone echoed in her ear, she envisioned a life woven with authenticity. If pursuing Tony meant risking everything, then she needed to confront that risk head-on. The voice on the other end was warm and inviting, wrapping around her like a plush scarf on a winter day. Emma? Tony, it's me. I want to talk. Her voice was steadier than she felt, inside each word a note of music resonating with burgeoning purpose. Sure, when and where? I'd prefer to meet soon, she said, determination rising. It's important. In that moment, Emma realized that whatever the outcome, she was taking control of her own narrative. Her hands had guided the brush, and now they would guide her into the next chapter of her life. As she hung up the phone, she felt a rush of adrenaline mixed with anxiety, but underneath it all was an exhilarating promise. Would she uncover the truth about Tony? And would facing that truth change the way she viewed herself? Tomorrow, the risk would crystallize. Emma prepared herself to confront the unknown, her mind racing with possibilities, uncertainties swirling around her. A new path awaited, intertwined with chaos and sincerity, both art and heart hanging in a delicate balance. The moment of truth was approaching, and Emma could only hope she would emerge with clarity and strength. The next morning, Emma awoke to the sound of her phone buzzing relentlessly on the bedside table. The early light streamed through her curtains, casting dappled shadows across her room, blending warmth with apprehension. She took a deep breath, still feeling the residue of uncertainty from last night, yet a flicker of resolve ignited within her. She had a meeting to prepare for, but before she could even set foot out of bed, her thoughts turned to the conversation she was about to have with Tony. It was more than just a simple meetup, it was a pivotal moment that could pivot her life in unforeseen directions. Each detail of the day ahead felt charged with potential. How would she approach him? Would they speak of Mia? Or would the conversation focus solely on their burgeoning connection? After showering, Emma dressed deliberately, choosing an outfit that was both comfortable and assertive. The soft fabric of her sweater wrapped around her like a protective shield, while the tailored jeans projected an air of confidence. She caught her reflection in the mirror and paused, trying to channel inner strength. Her eyes met her own with a flicker of determination. For the first time in a long while, she didn't just see uncertainty, she saw promise. Emma navigated between thoughts of her art and the emotional pull of her feelings for Tony. It wasn't just about creating something aesthetically pleasing, it was about self-expression and authenticity. Elusive yet pressing, these themes reflected her internal battle about her shifting relationship with Mia. The insinuations she could be judged for daring to pursue what felt right left her unsettled, yet the thought of denying her intuition felt more unsettling. As midday approached, Emma parked outside the cafe where she and Tony had agreed to meet. The familiar scent of roasted coffee beans wafted through the air as she stepped inside, heightening her senses. She spotted Tony seated at a corner table, absorbed in conversation with a stranger. He looked effortlessly charismatic and genuine, yet the moment filled her with a tinge of anxiety. She wondered if this stranger was a glimpse into a side of Tony she had yet to see, an unknown world far from the familiarity of her artistic community. As she approached, he looked up, their eyes meeting in an electric moment of recognition. Some unspoken understanding flickered between them, a blend of vulnerability and exhilaration. "Hey, I'm glad you made it," Tony greeted her warmly, pushing the chair in front of him back slightly. "Thanks for being willing to meet," Emma replied, her voice steady but barely containing the avalanche of thoughts simmering beneath her calm exterior. "Well, I figured it must be important if you reached out," he said, a hint of curiosity sparking in his expression. How could she articulate the gravity of everything that weighed on her? The duel between intensifying feelings and the fear of betrayal loomed large. Taking a deep breath, she settled into her chair, the urgency of the situation pushing her to articulate her truths. "I want to be transparent with you," she began, her words deliberate. "There are things I feel, and I need to understand how they fit into what we're building here." Tony nodded, his eyes narrowing with interest, apprehension mingled with anticipation in his gaze. She launched into the conversation, setting the scene as she recounted her feelings and her fears, outlining what had happened between them and what it all meant, a small miracle woven through the complexities of emotions. With every shared thought, she found pieces of her heart spilling out, raw and unfiltered, yet filled with the determination she had embraced. As they spoke, she discovered illuminating layers of Tony she had never known: his own past doubts, his thoughts on relationships. Their connection deepened with every revelation, and with each confession, Emma felt herself unraveling, peeling back the need for the mask she had worn for so long. But as they shifted into deeper territory, a question simmered beneath her bravado. The truth she had sought both compelled and terrified her. Was she ready for whatever consequences could unfold? With every word exchanged, she couldn't shake the feeling of transformation in the air. A palpable shift would come once this conversation reached its pinnacle. The clock ticked on, and uncertainty loomed just beyond comprehension. Each reply left an echo, lingering in the air. Would this meeting fortify a deeper bond or unravel the very fabric of what they were building? Emma could feel that the moment of truth was nearing as the tension thickened, yielding revelations that could redefine both their paths. Would embracing vulnerability empower her, or lead her further down a road filled with unforeseen consequences? She could almost feel the ground shifting beneath her, setting the stage for the inevitable reckoning ahead. Emma's heart raced as she studied Tony's face, the casual cafe setting almost an illusion against the gravity of their conversation. Words tangled in her mind as she caught glimpses of the eagerness and curiosity in his eyes. This was a pivotal moment, driven not just by affection but by a yearning for truth. She had taken steps toward honesty, but the sheer weight of vulnerability dragged at her. "Look, Emma," Tony began, his voice laced with an understanding that seemed more profound than what surrounded them. "What you're feeling is real, and it matters. But we both know this isn't simple." She nodded, her throat tightening. It was true, the lines that had blurred between friendship and something deeper gnawed at her. "I can't pretend I don't care about you, Tony," she confessed, her voice steady yet tinged with tremors. "But I also don't want to hurt Mia." He leaned in, eyebrows furrowed in concentration, an unmistakable sign he was grappling with the same turmoil. "I understand that. But if we don't address this, are we being fair to ourselves? To her?" The question struck at the heart of her conflict. The need for honesty battled against the fear of repercussions. Her mind skated over memories of Mia's laughter, the way they navigated their friendship, and how shifting the foundation could send tremors through the life they built together. "I hate this uncertainty," Emma whispered, feeling the cracks form in her resolve. "Every time we cross paths, it feels electric, but I can't shake the feeling of betrayal. It feels like I'm being selfish." "Selfish?" Tony challenged, softness vied with intensity in his gaze. "Or self-aware? There's a difference. We can't shrink ourselves to fit someone else's narrative." The words lodged themselves deep within her consciousness, triggering a reflection she hadn't anticipated. For too long, she had anchored her self-worth to living up to expectations first, the expectations of her parents, then the shifting dynamics with Mia. It was time to confront the larger question: who was Emma without these external pressures? With a spark of determination, she leaned forward. I want to figure out who I am, for myself. She felt liberated as she spoke, each syllable unshackling layers of doubt. In that moment, she could see parallels between her personal journey and her art, a struggle for authenticity in an ever-shifting landscape. Maybe what I'm searching for is the courage to pursue my passions without guilt. Tony's expression softened further, like a landscape emerging from the fog. And maybe that's what you need right now, Emma. But it's not just about us. You need clarity in your own heart. As the conversation ebbed and flowed, the world around them faded. Each moment intermingled with revelations, igniting a spark of courage within her. She was discovering that the path to being true to herself didn't necessarily mean disregarding others' feelings, but advocating for her own desires and aspirations. What if this is about more than just feelings? What if it's about the choices we make? She pondered aloud, realizing the deeper implications of her feelings for Tony. What they shared went beyond a simple connection. It struck at the roots of her personal growth and understanding of love. Tony nodded knowingly. We create our own truths, Emma, despite the messiness. You're starting to learn that, and it's powerful. The dialogue shifted lanes, conversations turned to dreams and aspirations in art, paths she had always wanted to explore, but had put aside to please others. With every shared secret, she felt a tug towards self-acceptance and authenticity she never imagined possible. Yet the specter of Mia lingered, a reminder that too much clarity might shatter bonds she cherished. The hour slipped away unnoticed until her phone buzzed, Mia's name flashing on the screen. The air recoiled like a sinking knot in her stomach. Was she prepared for the potential fallout? As Tony reached for her hand, a tangible connection igniting between them, Emma realized the precipice she stood on. Would she take the leap or hold back? This confrontation with not just her feelings, but her identity, was about to change everything. Are you ready for what comes next? Tony asked, his expression a blend of anticipation and concern. In that moment, Emma understood that the reckoning was inevitable. She could either retreat into the shadows of doubt or embrace the clarity unfolding before her. The choice was hers, yet the weight of it pressed heavily on her shoulders. As she drew a deep breath, steeling herself for the response that could very well shift everything, she could feel both her heart and her destiny hanging in the balance. Would she have the courage to face Mia and confront her own truths? Emma's gaze met Tony's, uncertainty transformed into determination. The moment had arrived, and it was hers to seize. The phone buzzed again, a jarring sound that shattered the intimate bubble Emma had created around herself and Tony. It was a lifeline to her past, and as she glanced down at the screen, she felt the heat rise to her cheeks. The name on that screen was a reminder of the complexities she hadn't yet untangled. Mia. Emma's heart swelled and sank simultaneously. The quiet storm inside her raged, a mix of longing and fear clawing at her heart. If she answered, she would be stepping back into a world she was desperately trying to navigate. But ignoring it felt like a betrayal of its own. Take your time, Tony said gently, releasing her hand. His voice resonated with a blend of understanding and expectation. The decision rested solely on her shoulders, and in that moment, the gravity of the situation anchored her resolve. She realized this phone call wasn't just a chat, it symbolized a choice between the life she had lived and the life she wished to embrace. Emma took a deep breath, steadying herself. What did she want? An answer couldn't just be about the moment, but rather an opening to what lay ahead. We need to be honest, Tony. I can't drag this out and pretend I'm okay when I'm not. The admission rolled off her tongue, sharpening her focus on the path she craved. He nodded, encouragement shining in his gaze. You're right. The truth is always the first step forward. She felt a rush of gratitude for his presence, a reminder that amidst chaos, she had someone who saw her, who would support her quest for authenticity. The conversation had shifted dramatically, revealing layers of clarity she hadn't anticipated. Emma turned to Tony, her heart racing not with fear but with renewed courage. Maybe this is a chance for both of us to redefine our boundaries. I need to talk to Mia, to confront what has been simmering beneath the surface. It feels like I've been holding my breath, she declared, her voice steadied by purpose. Then do it, Tony urged, his sincerity motivating her to act. Face her and yourself. You might be surprised by what you discover. Emma found herself smiling, not from any sense of ease but from the strength burgeoning inside her. She felt empowered as she pieced together her next steps. The call to Mia could serve not just as a confrontation but as an invitation to real conversation and opportunity to redefine their friendship on her terms. With resolve, she reached for her phone, feeling the smooth surface against her palm the moment had arrived. As she dialed, the familiar weight of anxiety washed over her. The line rang, each beat marking a moment of indecision. It felt like a countdown to some grand revelation, and she settled into the storm of her emotions, steeling herself for the truth she needed to unveil. Mia? She finally spoke into the receiver once the call connected, her voice steady yet intimate. Can we meet? I need to talk. The response came through the line, muffled but layered with confusion and concern, playing on Emma's nerves. Was Mia aware of the drama that had unfolded, or would this be a complete surprise? As she absorbed Mia's fragmented words, a surge of determination rushed through her. She was on the brink of revealing the truth, both of her feelings for Tony and her desire to reclaim her own identity. Can I really do this? She questioned internally, each nerve in her body tingling with both doubt and anticipation. This was no longer a simple chat, it was a reckoning. Life would shift on its axis, friendships would be redefined. Emma, Mia finally implored, her voice breaking through Emma's internal chaos. What's going on? It was the catalyst Emma had been preparing for, the opening she had sought to speak her truth. As she glanced at Tony, who offered an encouraging smile, she knew she was not alone. She was stepping into transformation, compelled to express everything long buried. The confrontation would not just be about Mia or Tony but would shape Emma herself. In that pivotal moment, Emma felt the weight of her past slip from her shoulders. Around her, the cafe continued its hum, but for her, time had stopped. Would she emerge from this meeting fortified or fractured? And as Emma held her breath, waiting for her answer, the path before her opened up with a blend of hope and trepidation. This was not merely an exploration about her feelings but a journey into who she was destined to become. Emma, are you there? Mia's voice tugged her back to the present. She tightened her grip on the phone, the answer looming like a shadow, illuminating the way forward. Would she find freedom in the truth or pain? Emma took a deep breath, ready to leap into the unknown. What would unfold on the other side? Emma stood at the precipice of transformation, the awareness of her newfound clarity lighting the path ahead. Meeting in the cafe had become a turning point, a space where vulnerability and truth collided. The gravity of her decision to confront Mia loomed over her, but this was the moment when Emma would no longer hide beneath a mask of uncertainty. She felt a solid confidence swell within her. As she entered a serene park where she had agreed to meet Mia, Emma reflected on the contrast between now and days past when she had tiptoed around her true feelings. No longer was she a mere shadow of her former self, suppressed by the weight of guilt and fear. The vibrant hues of her canvas mirrored her internal journey, a visual representation of bold truths struggling to break free from the confines of silence. She found Mia sitting on a bench, her body language tight, eyes fraught with a mix of confusion and pain. An overwhelming urge to explain swelled inside Emma, a need to dismantle this cloud of ambiguity that had loomed over their friendship. Mia, she began softly, but the words felt enormous on her tongue. She took a deep breath and continued, I've been caught between my feelings for Tony and our friendship for far too long. It's time I speak my truth, no matter where it leads us. Mia shifted, eyes widening in disbelief. The clock ticked between them, each second stretching painfully long as Emma crafted each word carefully, determined not to back down. Within the interplay of raw honesty, she could finally lay bare her heart and the conflicted emotions that had once silenced her. I care about him, and it feels real, not just a fleeting attraction, Emma said, her words punctuated with a newfound strength that coursed through her. But that doesn't mean I want to hurt you, and it never was my intention. Mia's initial anger rolled off her like waves crashing against the shore, but Emma pressed on. She needed to showcase the depth of her reflection, the layers of pain and longing that had fueled her artistic expression. I thought concealing my feelings would protect you. I realize now how wrong that was. I need to be true to myself. The longing in Emma's voice played like a melody resonating on the edges of their connection, awakening long-dormant emotions. It wouldn't be easy, but she felt a sense of purpose reinforcing her words. Mia's breath caught as realization dawned, and the anger softening into vulnerability surprised them both. I wish you had told me sooner, she murmured. But you're right, I can't dictate your feelings. It just hurts knowing my dad is part of this. I know I can't take away the pain or confusion, but I want us to work through this together, Emma replied, a whispered plea hanging in the air. The conversation morphed no longer a confrontation but a reckoning. Mia's guard began to lower, revealing a glimpse of understanding. They both recognized how their friendship had weathered storms, but this was a defining moment of growth. This doesn't mean I'll accept everything right away, Emma. But I see how much you've grown, Mia finally said, the warmth returning along with a glimmer of acceptance. This isn't just about my dad, it's about you finding your own voice. As they continued to navigate the profound implications of their revelations, Emma felt an overwhelming sense of fulfillment. She had not only confronted her emotions but had also honored their shared history in a way that reinforced their bond. This was a true declaration of independence. The weight of unfulfilled potential began to dissolve, replaced by a sense of agency. Emma had faced her fears head-on, peeling back the layers of anxiety that had bound her to an unsatisfactory existence. Now, she could embrace her art fully unhindered and without apology. After their conversation, Emma returned home, her spirit revitalized. Standing before her canvas, she felt a magnetic pull towards a new work, inspired by the confrontation she had just endured. Each stroke became a liberating cry, an anthem of resilience that had emerged through honesty and courage. In that moment, she understood that vulnerability was not a weakness but a source of untold strength. The exhibition she had longed for now felt like an extension of her transformation. Emma thrived on the idea of showcasing not just her art, but the layers of experiences that had shaped her. The pieces resonated with depth. The vibrant colors depicted her struggles intertwined with her newfound freedom. She was no longer merely depicting feelings of love, she was portraying the entirety of her journey through chaos to clarity. As the opening day approached, anticipation bubbled inside her. Emma knew that this exhibition would symbolize her personal evolution, and reaffirmation of self beyond the chaos of Tony's world and the safety of her friend's shadow. She was ready to embrace whatever pathway lay ahead, confident that authenticity would guide her. Amidst her art, she felt clarity settle deep in her bones. Through this journey, she had accomplished a profound metamorphosis. Emma was no longer merely an artist confined to her canvas, she was a woman determined to achieve her truth, celebrate her individuality, and step into the future empowered. With her last exhibit piece complete, Emma felt solid confidence blossom within her. She had conquered the tumult of her emotions and emerged celebrated, both in her life and her craft, a fearless reminder that every chaotic moment led her to genuine fulfillment. As she stood in her studio, filled with resolute pride, Emma understood this was her moment. Every dream had reached a summit. It was the time to step into her narrative, animated, unapologetic, and wholly realized. In this culmination, the story of Emma transformed from a woman perched precariously between chaos and desire to a confident artist claiming her future, embracing the rich, vibrant, and chosen colors of her life. Now, it is your turn. If you enjoyed this emotional journey of self-discovery and transformation, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel. Don't miss the next exclusive emotional stories that await you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Seriously, it makes a difference. Comment your reactions and theories about Emma's journey. What did you think of her choices? And please, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share this empowering tale of personal overcoming. Let us inspire others together.